England suffered their first defeat to Hungary in 60 years as Dominik Szoboszlai's contentious penalty meant the Three Lions began their Nations League campaign with a 1-0 loss in Budapest. Gareth Southgate's side had gone 22 matches, excluding penalty shootouts, without defeat, but they produced a display lacking in identity 171 days before the start of the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. Jarrod Bowen and James Justin both made their senior England debuts, while Harry Kane was also recalled to a side showing 8 changes from the friendly win over Ivory Coast in March. The decision to award the spot kick for recently introduced substitute Reece James' challenge on Zsolt Nagy looked harsh, but England could hardly argue with the result given how they toiled throughout. It was a demoralizing start to a run of 4 Nations League games in 11 days for Southgate's men, who have to pick themselves up for Tuesday's tough trip to Germany. Sky Sports provides the England player ratings from the setback at the Puskás Arena. Hungary 1-0 England. Match report. England players booed by children in Hungary when taking a knee. How the teams lined up. Match stats. Nations League Group A3 table. Get Sky Sports. Dominik Szoboszlai scores from the penalty spot. England ratings. Jordan Pickford 6. Did just about enough to spread his body and put off Dominik Szoboszlai after 11 minutes in an early reminder for England, but required Conor Coady to complete the job. Another routine save denied Nagy, but Pickford was given no chance by Szoboszlai's precise penalty. Parried Laszlo Kleinheisler's shot straight to Andris Schäferand was fortunate the rebound was blazed over. Jordan Pickford yells instructions at his defenders. Kyle Walker 6. Deployed as a right back in possession behind Trent Alexander-Arnold, calmly dealt with a couple of fiendish crosses but wasn't required to offer much going forward given the setup with Trent Alexander-Arnold replaced on the hour mark before England would realize that urgency was required. Conor Coady 6. On his 10th senior cap, forced into drastic action to thwart Szoboszlai's early chance and was alert to clear off his line. Headed over a presentable chance from a corner but defended his near post well. Was too straight and too slow in his pass to Jarrod Bowen, which led to a quick turnover and an audacious effort from Adam Solly with Pickford off his line. Headed another good opportunity in the second half wide and conceded when ought to have done better. Booked. Harry Maguire 6. Blocked a Loic Nego shot with his arm tight to his body in the second half. Calm in possession, he looked to start attacks by driving into midfield, but England's shape limited his options. Rose to meet an Alexander-Arnold corner in the second half but was unable to direct his effort on target and his long diagonals were hit and miss. James Justin 5. The 23rd player from Leicester to represent England, Justin always looked to cut inside the Hungary right wing-back Nego to mixed results. Hungary targeted England's left side, and the 24-year-old wasn't tight enough to Nego in the build-up to Szoboszlai nearly breaking the deadlock. 11 months out with an ACL injury, his England debut was cut short at the interval, having felt a twinge in the opening period. Declan Rice 6. Declan Rice and Harry Maguire in action. The next 10 days will shape Gareth Southgate's vision for Qatar, and while it is hard not to see Rice as being a central part of it, this was an awkward test at the end of a long campaign. A box-to-box powerhouse for West Ham, Rice was used as the deeper of a midfield double pivot and failed to show here that he can be Southgate's senior midfielder in Jordan Henderson's absence. Trent Alexander-Arnold 5. Zsolt Nagy caused Trent Alexander-Arnold problems. A game too far, and yet a game that could have many consequences. That the Liverpool fullback wore the number 7 shirt in some ways encapsulates the Trent complex. He has seldom been trusted under Southgate to play in his natural position at club level. His growing blind spot, being caught out at the far post, was nearly exploited again when Nagy snuck in at the far post, but he failed to make good connection. Show Eddie's range of passing to switch play, but quick ball was too rarely seen, and his tired corners were desperately overhit. Jude Bellingham 6. Jude Bellingham tangles with Andris Schäfer. Calvin Phillips is England's reigning Player of the Year for his excellent performances at Euro 2020, but Bellingham offers something different. Occasional, heavy touches meant he didn't have it all his own way. When England looked to go through the middle, they were often caught on the ball, but the 18-year-old held his own. Mature beyond his years, Bellingham's 12-game winning run for England was ended, but that record was partly due to Southgate turning to him during favourable matches. This was a timely bump to the nose, but with Italy and Germany to come, the Borussia Dortmund midfielder is ready to be tested by stiffer opponents in tighter spaces. Harry Kane 5. Hungary's Orban Willi in action against Harry Kane led England out for the 46th time as captain. Kane often did much of his work outside of the box. Drifted deep, drifted out wide, to the delight of the Hungarian defenders. The hosts had only managed a clean sheet in 2 of their previous 12 internationals, but the Tottenham striker mustered his first shot on target after 83 minutes. Wayne Rooney's all-time goal-scoring record never looked like being troubled. Jarrod Bowen 7. Bowen hadn't played at any level of junior football for England, but was deserving of this start after scoring 18 goals in all competitions for West Ham. This was more than a club season afterthought for Bowen, the hammer of the year. It was an audition with the heat firmly on in 26 degrees at the Puskas. Lively start as he latched onto Kane's flick to have a shot blocked by Attila Salih, and another hooked shot failed to trouble Peter Gulacsi. Always on the shoulder of the last defender, he looked so at ease as his more senior teammates wilted. Mason Mount 5. Roland Salai and Mason Mount vie for the ball. Often on the periphery, Mount's inability to latch onto a Kane cross midway through the first half sparked a flurry of activity. Showed good tenacity to win possession back for his side, but he was tasked with forming part of an unfamiliar left side with Justin, and a lack of synergy was self-evident. Scuffed a shot into the ground, having been forced wide by a Kane pass. Was unable to provide his usual spark. Subs. Bukayo Saka takes on Roland Salai. Bukayo Saka, on for Justin, 45-6. Arsenal's Player of the Year, featured in all of his club's games last season, and he was summoned at half-time as Southgate sought more attacking thrust. Took just 5 minutes for him to drop his shoulder and force a save out of Gulacsi after a menacing run. A chance generated of his own making, but England had very little else to show from this abject display. John Stones, on for Walker, 61-6. Was rarely tested, with Hungary breaking the deadlock not long after his introduction. Part of a ragged defense as England looked to push for an equalizer. Reece James, on for Alexander-Arnold, 61-5. England were drifting when James was introduced, but it was his lax judgment which was ultimately punished. It seemed innocuous, even harsh, but the Chelsea full-back was penalised and booked for a foul inside the box on Nagy. The Portuguese referee Artur Soares Dias deemed a clear pull of the shoulder after a loose first touch. England struggled with Hungary's long diagonals. Throughout, and the lapse in concentration epitomized Southgate's team as a whole. Jack Grealish, on for Mount, 61-6. Southgate turned to Grealish at 0-0 as he sought a shift in gear. Combined well with Saka down the left as England looked to unlock the Hungary door. Was involved in setting up Kane's fierce drive into the side, netting in their final chance. Calvin Phillips, on for Cody, 79-A. England moved to a back four in the final 10 minutes as Phillips' introduction allowed Bellingham to push forward. Had little time to make any impact. Hungary ratings: Gulacsi, 6, Lang, 6, Attila Salih, 6, Orban, 7, Nego, 7, Adam Nagy, 6, Adam Salih, 7, Soboslai, 8, Schaefer, 6, Jolt Nagy, 7, Salai, 6. Subs: Kleinheisler, 6, Styles, Viola, Veche, Adam, N.A. What's next? England face an old enemy in Germany when they travel to the Allianz Arena on Tuesday, kickoff 7:45 p.m. Follow live build-up and coverage across Sky Sports digital platforms from 6 p.m.